Member of Parliament for the National Alliance wonders how long the decolonization process will take. Chairman of Parliament says there is some hope and there is some justice. And President of the Collectivité says he is hopeful that a document will be inked shortly. Those are the headlines for Tuesday, November the 10th, 2020. Good evening, viewers. This is SXM Daily News, and I'm Valerie Van Putten, and I thank you for joining me this evening. And as usual, we have a full newscast, so let's get started. In our first story for this evening, in news out of French Saint Martin, President of the Collectivité, Mr. Daniel Gibbs, is hopeful that a document paving the way for establishing the proposed United Congress between Marigot and Phillipsburg will be inked shortly. He hinted this while speaking during the program The People's Voice with Wendell Moore this past Sunday, November the 8th, 2020. According to President Gibbs, before an agreement is reached nationally, there is a need to establish one locally between the two parties. He further elucidated on the subject.
It is going to be symbolic because it's not going to be the final documentation. Okay. Because don't forget, I don't have the competence to sign those kind of engagement, those kind of treaty. That's my national parliament that will do so. And I believe, I don't know how it functions on that part on the Dutch side, but I believe there are certain things that Holland needs also to validate. What is important is that before we talk about an agreement nationally, we need to talk on an agreement locally. So we need to know where we're going. That's why with Prime Minister, we took the decision. He said, okay, propose us that document, and we will see what we engage ourselves in. But we already had a lot of discussion on those issues, and we all agree that we need to start somewhere. So the big discussions are going to be Mr. Moore on both national Holland and St. Martin level. I had an okay from the Minister of Overseas Department at that time, Madame Annick Girardin, and we had a Q4 meeting. And for people who don't understand, Q4 is St. Martin Prime Minister, St. Martin French side President, the representative of the national state France and the national state Holland. And during that meeting, the French Minister of Overseas Department said that she was fully in agreement with this idea of going to a united Congress, French and Dutch. I didn't hear the representative of Holland stating the same thing. He didn't say the contrary, but I didn't hear him giving that strong willing to go in the same direction. So we have to fight a way, and we have to prove that this is a necessity. And I think the little blockage is when the same question comes back, who is going to be sitting in that United Congress? So national governments always want to be involved. And as I said, they can be as observers, but they don't have a voting voice. And the voting voice belongs to both local authorities, French and Dutch. The reason for that is that we know what we want for our future. When people vote for us, is to put in place our policies. So at a given point, we cannot be pointed out and say, oh, this is what we want, but nationally, they're blocking us on certain issues. No, we need to validate the direction of cooperation that we want for this island, and that needs to be respected by the legal higher authorities. The legality of what we are doing needs to be controlled. That is not a question. But the decision taking and the decision making is the local authorities. That I want to be clear with. Because when you accept that your prime minister or your president are elected by a population who choose who they want to direct their local issues, well, that needs to be respected. And the United Congress is in that direct state of mind.
And in other news for you at this time, in a recent session of Parliament on November the 6th, 2020, Chief Executive Officer of Telem Group of Companies, Mr. Kendall Dupersoy, presented the financial status of Telem Group of Companies. Prime Minister of St. Martin, the Honorable Sylvia Jacobs, in her presentation at said meeting said that as representative of the government shareholder, they have had several meetings with the management board and with the supervisory board regarding the viability of the company. Meanwhile, CEO of the group of companies, Mr. Kendall Dupersoy, in his brief presentation said that Telem is busy with an island-wide infrastructural improvement project, and he spoke about the changes in telecommunication trends.
As a representative of the shareholder, the Council of Ministers has had I'm the representative here today, but together with the Council of Ministers, we have had several meetings with the Management Board as well as the Supervisory Board regarding the viability of the company, especially in the post-COVID-19 situation. I would like to thank the members of Parliament for the invitation to provide an update on not just the financial status of the company, but on the Fiber to the Home project, as well as the proposal recently sent to the Steering Committee, reconstruction of a resilient telecommunication network. Through you, Mr. Chairman, there is, as you mentioned, some information that is deemed not necessarily for public consumption at this time. And so I would like to formally request that the information being provided by the Telem Group of Companies, which is of a sensitive nature, be shared privately with the members of Parliament, and that the meeting be adjourned to allow for that part to take place.
As is commonly known throughout the island, Telem is busy with an island-wide infrastructure improvement project, more commonly known as the Fiber to the Home project. In a few minutes, Mrs. Etnell will give a brief introduction of the financial situation of the company. Naturally, the COVID-19 pandemic has severely impacted our finances of Telem, but finances has been going down for several years, mainly due to the changing telecommunication trends. In order to continue to be profitable and continue to contribute to the economy of St. Martin, Telem will have to change with the times and downsize in order to survive. The process is planned through retiring of staff and engaging in a process of automation and efficiency improvements.
And SXM Daily News will have more of the CEO of Telem Group of Companies in Thursday's broadcast. And in more news for you at this time, Chairman of Parliament, the Honourable Rolando Bryson, speaking on the long lease land issue at the meeting of Parliament of November the 4th, 2020, the chairman said that there is some hope and that there is some justice. There is some checks and balances, but we cannot deny that we have to ask the question, how did we get here? And he expounded further.
It gives us hope that there is some justice, there is some checks and balances indeed, but we cannot deny that we have to also ask ourselves the question, how have we gotten here? You know, where is it the stigma coming that politicians are, going into just to do for themselves or so? Unfortunately, a lot of that does stem from within the government itself, within the organization. Now, let me say something very clear. I was a civil servant myself. I have worked with many civil servants, particularly within the TIAT ministry. You have heard from other members of Parliament here within education, within justice, within VROMI. And I'm sure all of them can say, by the vast majority, the majority of their colleagues are hardworking people, are honest, they sincerely took this job to serve the people of St. Martin, that is the intention behind most civil servants. But Madam Chair Lady, in every organization, you have certain individuals that operate differently. And it is those spoiled apples that tend to spoil the bunch, because they do exist. We have had civil servants that have been removed from the civil service, that have been sick for years, simply because, you know what, I can't work with this minister. And then when a new minister comes in, all of a sudden they show up to work. Is that not sign that they're civil servants that say, I am not going to work with that minister? We have evidence of this. This has been documented. This is not hearsay. When we talk about the power of civil servants, of course, on paper, we'll say the minister has the final say. But I kind of find it unbelievable that somebody that has worked in the civil service doesn't understand that what is on paper and what practically needs to be done for the people of St. Martin in the government building is totally different. The law says, for example, that someone must receive a reply on a building permit or a business license, let's say within 6 weeks. That's on paper, that's the law. How many times is that followed? So because it's the law, because it's what the minister can do, what is really happening in St. Martin, let's be real. There are hold-ups taking place within the civil service, and we have to address them. The problem is, lately, and the more I am driven by anyone to say, leader alone, don't pick on civil servants, the more it begets the question, MP Bryson, keep looking.
And still to come, Member of Parliament for the National Alliance, Solange Duncan, says, indeed, decolonization is a process. We'll have the details to that story and more when SXM Daily News returns.
GEBE has been faithfully serving the communities of St. Martin, powering your home and our economy. Come rain or shine, our qualified team of professionals are working hard 24 hours a day to provide you and your family with safe, reliable electricity and water. We use the latest technologies and test our products daily to maintain the highest international standards. Our friendly staff is always there to assist you, whether in person, over the phone, or online. We are committed to constantly improving our products and services, making them more efficient, effective, and environmentally friendly to serve you better today and our next generation of clients tomorrow. GEBE, powering a brighter future.
Our friend Megawati is here with tips to save you energy. 1. Turn your airco temperature up. 2. Use a ceiling fan instead. 3. Buy energy-saving products. Save some green with NVGEBE.
Welcome back, viewers. You're watching SXM Daily News, and I'm Valerie Van Putten. As we continue now in more news for you at this time, Member of Parliament for the National Alliance, the Honorable George Pontiflet, on addressing the decolonization proposal for the establishment of a permanent decolonization committee of Parliament. The MP wanted to commend his colleagues, but wondered how long is it going to take, because according to the MP, they are very good at delaying things.
Mr. Chairman, I want to commend my colleagues, Duncan and Martin, and all of those who I'm sure are going to support this venture. And yes, it has to go through a process, and that's my concern. It has to go through a process, and I wonder how many years it's going to take, 30, 40, 50 years, because they're very good at delaying things. We had to hear about the SDG at 2015, poverty when we get it in 2013, poverty, and then 2030, it's going to go to 2050, and then it's going to go to 2060, because who decides, Mr. Chairman? Who decides? And I'm glad for this forum because I want those who are listening internationally also, because they are listening. I want to say to my African brothers, it is time to unite, because our biggest failure, Mr. Chairman, as a black people, is we don't know how to unite, Mr. Chairman. And we are talking about going independence, and yes, we've got to explain and tell the people what they have to do, Mr. Chairman. Everyone should know for him or herself what it should mean to be independent, to make your own decisions, to take your own decisions. Make your own choices. Do not get caught up in the legal jargon that lies ahead. If there are certain rules that are keeping you up, Mr. Chairman, I'm saying bypass them. Bypass them. Because if the United Nations or the international community on human rights are so concerned about all of us having a democracy, then when we do what we have to do, Mr. Chairman, let us see what's going to happen. Because right now, as we speak, right now, Mr. Chairman, in sub-Saharan Africa, in West and North, South Cameroon, Mr. Chairman, people are being killed, Mr. Chairman, right now. But you don't see it on the front page. And unfortunately, Mr. Chairman, we hear about the French teacher that was decapitated or whatever. And yes, it is horrible. And I don't condemn it either, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, when, and I said it as a member of the Island Council, I'm going to say it again as a member of Parliament, when you put a pot of water on the stove, Mr. Chairman, and it starts to boil, Mr. Chairman, it has a cover, it's going to boil over. And what we're seeing right now, Mr. Chairman, is a rebellion of those persons, especially our youth, Mr. Chairman, based on what is happening right now. That incident with George Floyd is only a beginning of what is awaiting us in the future. So I'm saying to us now, as a people of St. Martin, get together. Let us unite as one force, because we have one common enemy. We have no friends. According to Mr. Jan Hendrik Clark, we have no friends. He said, if you want a friend, look in the mirror.
And Member of Parliament, the Honourable Solange Duncan, at the same meeting for the establishment of a permanent decolonization committee of Parliament, said, yes, indeed, decolonization is a process. It is ongoing because there is so much work that has to be done. And she looks forward to working with the MPs.
I have to say, after some of the remarks from the first round, yes, indeed, decolonization is a process. It is ongoing. It is about deconstructing ideologies and structures, but also to valuing and revitalizing local knowledge. This is exactly why this committee should be permanent, because there is so much work to be done and it's complex. We are going to need some time to work through what it means to all of us. And so I say again, I look forward to working with all of the MPs. Any objectives that they would want to add to the committees, and they're free to do so. What was important, of course, is engaging the people at every step of the way, and that is what this committee plans to do. The ways of the past to discuss and debate and to ask where we going, and leave problems unresolved are not the ways of this committee, or at least that is not how I see the committee going. MP Marlin mentioned yesterday in the meeting of the Vromi Committee with the Honorable Minister of Vromi, how many policies government never put in place. I mean, when we really think about it, you think about 30, 40 years issuing long lease land, giving out scholarships with no policies in place. I mean, come on. So trust me, the objectives of this committee are to finalize the decolonization process. We added nation building. We can add constitutional affairs. At the end of the day, we will do the work that the people deserve to get done. That is what the committee is there for. Once members join, we will also create a roadmap of those activities and again, engage the public. There was mention of St. Martin being relisted. That is stated nowhere in the proposal. We see that Aruba and Curacao have went to the UN and they have talked about relisting as a non-self-governing territory. That is nowhere in the committee's proposal. The thing is that we have other organizations, civil societies like Proswaliga, that has also taken on this decolonization mission. And it is a beautiful thing. Why? Because as a country, we are working on all levels. Parliament is doing what it has to do. Government is doing what it has to do. And our foundations, our civil society organizations are doing what they have to do.
And faction leader of the UPP and second Vice Chair of Parliament, MP Grisha Heiliger Martin, responded to statements from the opposition parties in Parliament regarding the decolonization process. Speaking on the program in the Breakfast Lounge with Lady Grace, the Member of Parliament defended her position.
In IPCO in July, the first thing I said, this is my first IPCO. I've noticed that these IPCOs is all about talk. Nobody walk. Well, guess what? I want to have a roundtable conference next year, July, the next IPCO, a year from now, so we could finalize the decolonization process. Everyone looked at me like I was crazy. And I said, if you think I'm crazy, I'm going to be emailing you all the academic research, all the laws, and then you look at it for yourself. And let's get back to the table and talk. And at the same time now, what we did, we passed a motion. So you had the ad hoc committee. The first steps is, the first thing I did before anything, I sent 20 research questions to the Prime Minister. She took some time because she had to do the research. She got back to us and it concluded that yes, the decolonization process is not finalized and that we should. And who has to do that? Not government. We are the legislative body. Correct. And it's a constitutional change. That's our obligation to the people. So that's what we have to do. So here we are now. So we decided now, the first in the Dutch Caribbean to have a permanent decolonization committee which was right, unanimously passed. Then, to solidify and to support the committee, you have to make a stance as government. Anyone can open an ad hoc committee. Anyone can vote and create a committee. But what is your stance? How are you going to support this committee? And that was the motion. The motion acknowledged that yes, we as the government of St. Martin has come to the realization that we are not decolonized. Second, we have also requested that the government start the process of calling all other governments to set up a roundtable conference. So that's your executing body. That's what they would do. But in addition to that, don't forget, they're busy with COVID. I can't ask them to work on the decolonization process at the same time. Secondly, we also said, government, pay attention to the motion we passed in July where we said that you can negotiate for the third tranche, the second tranche. You can negotiate once it remains in the parameters of all laws and once it's beneficial for the people. So if you have to bend a law a little just to make sure it's beneficial for our country, proceed. So we are not, again, tying the hands of government. They have just met the conditions for the second tranche. Now they're going to go and start the negotiations for the third.
And as we continue now in this item from Friends St. Martin again, Swaliga United is inviting the general public to the 30th anniversary celebration of the Unity flag tomorrow, Wednesday, November the 11th, 2020, at the Bellevue Frontier at 9:30 a.m. There will be songs, dance, poetry, drums, speeches featured, as well as the unveiling of the Unity flag billboard. Now, turning to our weather forecast for November the 10th, 2020, the tropical wave located over the eastern Caribbean Sea is producing disorganized showers and thunderstorms, which is causing flash flooding across the region. This wave has a high 70% chance of development within the next 5 days as it continues to move westward away from St. Martin. The Meteorological Department of St. Martin will continue to monitor the progress of this system and keep the public updated accordingly. So the outlook through Thursday midday, cloudy and breezy with isolated showers. Now let's turn to your 3-day forecast. And still to come, member of the SMAP says that government is not taking the dialogue with the 7 unions seriously. We'll have the details to that story and more when SXM Daily News returns.
The innovative Banco Matico contactless smart card. Your Banco Matico smart card is now equipped with a contactless feature for payments, so get ready to tap and go. Contactless payments are fast, easy, secure, and accepted worldwide at all Maestro-enabled contactless terminals. Tap for transactions equivalent to or less than 100 NAF, or the US dollar equivalent. You will receive notifications via email anytime you tap. Tap, tap, and pay fast. Fast with WIB. For more information, visit our website at wib-bank.net. Tap and go with your partner in progress.
Welcome back, viewers. You're watching SXM Daily News. And as we continue now with more news in this COVID-related item, as of November the 9th, CPS has reported an increase in the 7-day moving average. The average has increased from a short-term trend of 5 per day to 8 per day. While these numbers are still small, it reflects a 60% increase in cases over the last 10 days. The island has also sadly experienced an additional death, while 6 individuals remain hospitalized. The recent increase can be related to a combination of factors, including the recent Halloween festivities, an increase in the PCR window for incoming travelers, phased reopening of schools, an increase in the number of tests administered, and the emergence of several clusters. CPS is planning additional public health message campaigns in the coming weeks to remind individuals of the need to remain compliant with our public health measures, such as wearing your masks, social distancing, and hand washing, especially as we move into the high season. As of yesterday, November the 9th, there are 896 confirmed cases and 801 recovered cases. In addition, the Minister of Health would like to remind the 72 active cases and the 240 close contacts in quarantine of the importance of staying home, practicing proper hygiene, and wearing your mask to protect those around you. And as we end this edition of SXM Daily News for this evening, member of the Anti-Poverty Platform, SMAP, Dr. Anders Raymond Gisseroen, says that government is not taking the dialogue with the 7 unions of the Chamber of Labor Unions, WICLU, serious, as the unions still have not met with the Council of Ministers. Mr. Gisseroen says that the 2 meetings that was held in 7 months' time is not dialogue.
What we see happening in St. Martin is that the Prime Minister and this Council of Ministers, as it was brought forward already today, for 7 months, is not taking the dialogue with the 7 unions in the Windward Island Chamber of Labor Unions serious. The 2 meetings that was held in 7 months' time is not dialogue, because dialogue had to be held in such a way that you could have reached to a consensus, so that you could have been dealing with the Dutch in such a way that with the backup of the unions, with the backup of the interest that the unions have to serve, which is of their members, but also at the larger society, these measures that are on the table would have been addressed. There are alternatives that could have been provided to negotiate with the Dutch. And as said, when you listen to how the Prime Minister and also the Minister of Finance almost every week come to the public, it is like they are so brainwashed that they want you to believe that the only way to address the issues that we face in our society is to abide by the conditions imposed by the Dutch. It is even this way that we see that, for instance, they are demanding from us to negotiate within those confinements, accepting that we have to accept, if not, we cannot get a loan. Whereas the whole narrative of a loan is wrong. We have already provided, as coordinators of the anti-poverty platform, through the unions, to the government, that our position is that colonial reform is not acceptable anymore. What we need is our right to development. Now, you have to dialogue. How are we going to give content to the right to development? When we look at the governing program, the right to development is not coming back. What they want to do in the governing program is recovery, and because of the COVID impact, they want to restore.
And with that, viewers, it brings us to the end of this edition of SXM Daily News for this evening. And just a reminder that because of the St. Martin's Day celebrations, it is an official holiday. SXM Daily News will not be broadcasted. But we will see you back here on Thursday. And with that, viewers, we've come to the end of this edition of SXM Daily News, and we thank you for watching. And just a reminder that this and other programs are available online. Simply log on to stmartinmediacenter.com for watching. And on behalf of the SXM Daily News team, we thank you so much for watching and plan on meeting you right back here again on Thursday. Do have a safe St. Martin's Day.